Now, coming to wall reflecting cases, we are going to discuss in Doppler effect. Doppler effect. So, we know the formula in Doppler effect is n dash is equal to n into v plus or minus v naught by v plus or minus vs is the formula we know. Now we are applying this formula for when we are taking the cases of wall reflecting cases. Wall reflecting cases. First, let me take one application. So here one application is like this beta. Wall is there and a traveling car. A car is traveling here towards the wall. So now your wall is this a car is the source and it is moving with a speed vs towards the wall. And let us assume that observer is between the wall and the car. Wall and the car. Now what will happen here means the sound will get from the car direct sound. Sound is emitted by the car is N. So here the direct sound what we observe is directly it will go and reach to the observer. This is N direct. This is N direct. Indirect sound that means that the sound will travel and hit the wall and again reaches to the observer. So car is taken as source. Car is taken as source here. Source and observer is the person and here observer is at rest v naught is equal to 0 and this is the wall is also stationary here. So what happened beta from the car sound is produced. The sound will travel directly to the observer like this, directly to the observer, and sound also travels like that and hits the wall and returns to the observer. So here two cases we are going to observe. So now this is in this situation I can take the frequency heard by observer is indirect. Indirect. Direct means coming from source to observer. Direct. Indirect means going from source to wall and again from wall to observer. This is indirect situation. Let us discuss first about direct situation. Direct situation. Direct situation means you have to observe only source and observer. Direct situation means this is the car we told and source and observer emitting frequency n and it is Vs moving towards stationary observer. So stationary observer means V naught is equal to 0. V naught is equal to 0. So this is the direct situation means here the frequency listening by the observer is n direct. So n direct is equal to, I can write now, n into, we can write, source is coming towards the observer. Stationary observer means V by, what is the formula we can write? V by V minus Vs. Because when observer is at rest, observer is at rest means we don't have V naught value. We don't have V naught value. V naught value is 0. So we have only Vs. Vs will be according to the formula in the denominator. So in front of this one, you have to write minus or plus sign. That is the question. So now source is coming towards the observer. Source is coming towards the observer means obviously we have to use the minus sign in the denominator because I already mentioned number of times source coming towards observer frequency will increase, source coming to the observer frequency will increase, so that here we have to use minus sign in the denominator. Now we just came across this formula n direct is equal to n into v by v minus vs. This is a direct. Whenever we take the direct sound, that means directly from source to observer. This is the formula to be noted. Next, let us enter into the second situation, indirect. Indirect. So what is this indirect situation? Now we'll concentrate on that one better. Indirect situation. Here when you use the term indirect situation means, indirect means, here we have to classify again into two categories. So indirect means one is from directly from source to wall. Source to wall. First one, source is core and wall is the observer. We have to treat wall as observer. Wall as observer. Source Vs is coming towards the wall. So wall I am treating as observer. Wall itself I am treating as observer. So wall velocity 0. V naught is equal to 0. This is one situation. And one more situation is here. We are taking now wall and observer. Now what happened means wall is treated as source. Wall is treated as source here now. In first situation, what we came across here, it emits frequency n, and listens the wall listens the frequency is n dash. Observer means listening frequency is n dash. Now the situation is different. Now wall itself will act as a source. Wall itself will act as a source. So Vs is equal to 0. Vs is equal to 0. And now this is a source. Now I am taking the two situations we have, I told. First one, this one. Second one, this one. Now wall itself is a source and observer. Observer is a person here. Observer is the person standing here. So when observer is standing here, now observer velocity is 0. Source velocity is also 0. Now already we told source frequency. What is the wall frequency? Wall is listening with n dash. Now here also we have to take n dash. So what is the wall frequency? I can write it as n dash. And from here, first sound went from source to core to wall. Now from wall to observer. Wall to observer. The frequency heard by this observer is n indirect. N indirect. Let us observe now what is the formula for n dash. Source is going towards stationary wall. Source is going towards stationary wall means from our previous concepts we can write n dash is equal to V by V minus Vs. This is n dash. So n dash value we got like this. This is the n dash value, that is source is moving towards the stationary wall. Now coming to here, what happened? Now indirect I want. Indirect. Indirect means you observe beta. Both are at rest. So n indirect is equal to n dash. No Doppler effect when the both are at rest. So from this formula, what is my conclusion means? My conclusion is n indirect is equal to n indirect. N indirect is equal to, I can write n dash value is n into V by V minus Vs. So this is the formula for n indirect. And previously we got n direct formula. Let us check the previous one. So here, the previous one, what we got n direct n into V by V minus Vs. This is direct formula, n into V by V minus Vs. Now what we observed here, here also we observe the same, and indirect and direct both are the same. If you just notice here, so what is the formula I am getting here? Again the same formula I got, So n direct and indirect are same. So as they are same, what we can conclude means final conclusions. Let me write here n direct is equal to n indirect is equal to n into V by V minus Vs. And how many number of beats heard per second? Beats means number of beats heard per second means difference in the frequency. Difference in the frequency is called number of beats heard per second. As both are same, delta n is equal to 0. So delta n is called as beat frequency. Beat frequency. Or we can write number of beats heard per second. Number of beats heard per second. So now we connected the Doppler effect with the beats. Number of beats heard per second, or it is also called as beat frequency. Delta n is equal to 0. So observe carefully better what we did now. From starting onwards, first we target, that is when the source is moving towards the wall. Source is moving towards the wall. Observer is between them. Observer is between them. When source is moving towards the wall, observer is between them. Observer at rest. Wall in you, it is at rest only, beta. Wall always will be rest only. So car is there here. The car is moving towards the stationary wall. Car is moving towards stationary wall. So first direct one, direct sound. What we can take here? Here n is the frequency of sound emitted by the source, and n direct here, direct one, direct sound. That means direct is direct here car to observer, direct car to observer. Indirect car to wall, wall to observer, indirect sound. Here direct sound from car to observer. From that information, first we are discussing about direct situation. In direct situation, car is moving towards the stationary observer. So always emitting frequency is n. Now listening frequency n direct. From our Doppler effect formula, if we observe, n direct is equal to n into v by v minus vs. From the situation source coming towards the stationary observer. Let us have another situation here, that is indirect sound. When we are discussing about indirect sound, we are taking two cases. The first case is about first case is about the source and wall, car and wall. First case, car is coming towards the stationary wall. So this is our first case. And wall is taken as observer. Observer velocity 0. Here emitting frequency n as usual, and listening frequency n dash. Second situation, this wall itself is taken as source. Now wall is considered as source. And observer is the person. Observer is the person. In this situation, here the wall frequency is n dash. Wall frequency is n dash. Source frequency n dash. And the listening frequency of observer is n indirect. N indirect. So from that information, what is the n dash and relation? First for indirect case, from source car to wall as observer means wall is at rest, source coming towards stationary observer. This is the formula. Source coming towards stationary observer. Here, if you observe, source is wall, wall at rest. Already we told the person is at rest. Both are at rest. Both are at rest means I can write n indirect is equal to n dash. N indirect is equal to n dash. So now n indirect is equal to n dash means what we can conclude? What we can conclude here? So n dash value n into v by v minus vs. So n indirect is equal to n into v by v minus vs. From our previous pages, what we concluded? N direct, indirect both are same. N direct and indirect both are same here. So observe here, and direct, indirect both are same. As both are same, what we can write here? Difference between them. That is, whenever you are taking difference between direct and indirect, what will happen beta? As they are same, difference will get it as 0. So beat frequency is 0. No. Now what is beat frequency? Number of beats heard per second is 0. That is the situation here in the Doppler effect. When observer is in between the car and wall, car is moving towards the wall. Now, let us see the next situation. Now the situation is, here we are taking that car is moving towards the wall as usual. This is the wall and car is moving towards the wall. So your frequency emitted is N and observer is backside. Observer is backside the car. Observer is at rest and car is going with what speed beta? Suppose Vs is in this direction. Vs is in this direction. Car speed is Vs. Now source and this is wall like that. Now when car blows the horn, the direct sound will listen like this better. Direct sound will go in this direction, indirect. Indirect sound means first the car to wall and again from wall to it has to reach the person. This is indirect. Let me draw again. This direct and indirect. So here the car speed, let me take it as car speed Vs in this direction. Let me draw a little down. So car speed is Vs and it is going in this direction. And observer is at rest. Observer is also at rest here. So when observer is rest and car speed is, what is car speed beta? Vs and wall is also at rest. Direct sound means car to wall. Direct sound means car to wall. So this is direct sound. So the frequency heard by here is N direct. And now from car to first to wall, and again wall to the person. This is N indirect. That is N indirect. Like that we concluded. Now from this information, what is the relation between direct sound and indirect sound? Like that two things are there. First observe only direct thing, only direct. Direct sound means what you have to do beta? Here direct sound, first we have to take only car and observer. Car and observer. Car is moving in this direction, N, and observer is backside of the car, and observer is at rest. V naught is equal to 0. And now direct sound frequency and DIR. So easily you can identify source is going away from observer. Source is going away from observer. See, source is going away from observer. Observer is here, is not coming towards, is going away from observer. From here, what is my conclusion means? N dash is equal to N into going away means frequency will decrease. So in the denominator, we have to use plus sign. This formula already I taught you how to use V by V plus Vs and when to use V by V minus Vs. All these cases already in my previous class I explained. Now, I hope you are clear with this idea beta. Just check it out here. How to write the formula for this N dash. I am not calling it as N dash. I am calling it as N direct. N direct is equal to N into V by V plus S. V by V plus Vs. This is about direct situation. I think you understood direct. Direct means only between these two. Directly, source is going away from stationary observer. Source is going away from stationary observer formula and direct is equal to N into V by V plus Vs. Now, let us see the next one. Let us see the next board. Here now what happened? We have to discuss about indirect. Indirect. In indirect, again, two situations. What are the two situations better in indirect? The first one is car and wall, car and wall, car and wall. And second one is about wall and the observer, person, wall and observer. So here source Vs is going towards the wall. Here frequency N. Here frequency let us take N dash. So now what is N dash and N relation? Source is coming towards the wall. Wall I am taking is as observer. Now wall is observer. So what is the frequency heard by the wall means n dash is equal to n into coming towards. Coming towards means v minus vs. Going away means v plus vs. Already I concluded that. Now, what happened? In previously now, source and wall acts observer. Now, wall is acting as source. Wall is acting as source. So as it is source, I have to write n dash. I have to write as n dash. And what is the wall velocity? Vs is equal to 0. Vs is equal to 0. Now it is acting as source. Observer, V naught value is equal to 0. V naught value is also equal to 0. So here the frequency what here heard is indirect. So both are at rest means we know that no Doppler effect and indirect is equal to n dash and indirect is equal to n dash. And what is the n dash value means? N into V by V minus Vs. From these two informations, I can write it as n dash n indirect is equal to n into V by V minus Vs. This is the frequency of indirect sound. Already we observed the frequency of direct sound. What is the frequency of direct sound, beta? Frequency of direct sound is n direct is n into V by V plus Vs. Now what we got? Frequency of indirect sound as n into V by V minus Vs. From these two conclusions, final conclusion what I can give here, final conclusion is that is n direct is equal to n into V by V plus Vs. N indirect n into V by V minus Vs. Number of beats heard per second, that is indirect sound minus n direct sound. Difference in frequency, that's called beat frequency. So delta n is equal to n into V by V minus Vs minus n into V by V plus Vs. Just take LCM and simplify. You will get the expression as 2nVVs by in the denominator V square minus Vs square. This is the formula what we have. Generally, we assume that as V is greater than Vs, so that implies V square minus Vs square is nearly equal to V square. So from this conclusion, what is the formula for delta n means? We can write 2n Vs by V. If you substitute that formula here, that is a V square in the denominator, V square minus Vs square as V. What we are going to get here means 2n Vs by V. This is my final formula, 2n Vs by V. So here the formula what I observed is delta n is 2n Vs by V. This is the formula. Delta n is number of beats heard per second. Number of beats heard per second. Or I can call it as beat frequency. Beat frequency. 1 minute beta. Some information. Somebody are charting with me. They are telling sir delta and n is always n direct minus. Sir delta n is always indirect because always difference in frequency, high frequency minus low frequency. So high frequency is indirect and low frequency is direct frequency. So delta n is 2n Vs by V. So that is the formula we have. So here what happened? V is greater than always sound speed will be greater than Vs. So V square minus Vs square is nearly equal to V square. If I substitute here V square, that means leave this Vs square. So Vn square will be cancelled. 2n Vs by V. 2n Vs by V is my answer. So this is one situation. One more important situation of the Doppler effect case is in wall reflecting case. Very important one is this is the wall here. Now source and observer both are core only. That is, source is inside the core and source is the core and observer is inside the core itself. Here the sound, let us take the source as a source speed as Vc, core speed Vc. Observer also inside only. So source and this is wall. Where is observer? Observer is inside the car. Very, very important situation. Observer is also inside the car only. Observer is also inside the car. So now source and observer both are same because moving in the same direction. In this situation, how to handle means first one, direct sound. Direct sound means what is the situation of direct sound beta? Direct sound here simply source and observer both are moving because observer is also in the car only. So direct sound is n direct is equal to n, no Doppler effect. Both are moving in same direction, no relative motion because same direction, same speed. So because the person inside the car will be traveling with the car speed only in the same direction of car only because he's inside the car. So from that information, what I can tell, car speed and the observer inside the car, both are having the same speed, same speed. So direct speed, direct frequency is n itself. Emitted frequency is n and direct frequency is also n. And this is about direct value. Now coming to the indirect situation now. Let us observe carefully the indirect situation. Indirect, very important point to be noted here. That is first case, two cases. Now we'll treat it as core and wall. So core is going with a speed Vs equal to Vc. Now source and observer in this direction and emitting frequency and listening frequency and dash. So what we can write here, core is moving towards the stationary wall, stationary wall. So n dash is equal to n into, what should I write? Here coming towards, source coming towards wall means V by V minus Vc, V by V minus Vc. Now observe carefully. Now wall is treated as source. Here n dash is the frequency emitted by the wall. Now source is rest. Source is at rest. Now observer is the person inside the car. Observer is the person inside the car, sitting inside the car. So that what will happen now? So V naught equal to Vc. Now this is the situation how it observes means observer coming towards stationary source. Observer is coming towards the stationary source. Observer is coming towards the stationary source. So from here, what is the formula what we have? N die, this is N emitted and this, sorry, N dash is emitted and listening frequency of the observer is N indirect, N indirect, N indirect. So now, what is my conclusion? N indirect is equal to, what should I write? N indirect, observer is coming towards. So when observer is coming towards the stationary wall, what is the formula I have? N into V plus V naught by V. N into V plus V naught by V. But here, observer speed I am writing it as Vc. Observer speed I am writing it as Vc. Coming towards means in numerator plus. Observer is always located in the numerator. So V plus Vc by V. Here V naught also equal to Vc. So this is the formula for N dash and N indirect. From here one more important thing. You must not write N. You have to write N dash. Because source emitting frequency N dash. So N indirect is equal to N dash into V plus Vc. So now N indirect is equal to N dash into V plus Vc by V we wrote as N dash is equal to, what is N dash beta? n into v by v minus vc. Substituting that one also in the formula here. So n indirect is equal to, in the place of n dash, n into v by v minus vc, into here what is left, v plus vc by v. So clearly you can observe here what are the two things are equal, v are equal. So I am cancelling this v and v. From here what I can write, n indirect is equal to n into, here in the numerator I will get it as v plus vc, in the denominator v minus vc. This is my formula for n indirect. N indirect formula what I got, n indirect is equal to n into v plus vc by v minus vc. Sir, why you are multiplying? One student is asking me why you are multiplying like that. You observe carefully here. N indirect, here source frequency not n, source frequency is n dash, first initial frequency n, wall listening with n dash. Now wall is source, now it is n dash, and this is n indirect. So n indirect is equal to n dash into v plus vc by v plus vc by v. What is n dash value? What is n dash value means, from here I am collecting that n dash value and I am substituting that n dash value as n into v by v minus vc. Into here v plus vc by v. So v cancel, and finally this is the expression for n indirect. Let us observe now from this information what I concluded. N direct is equal to n into v by, what I got beta here, n into v by. If you observe what are the conclusions we made, let us check once. Here first direct sound what we got, direct sound is n direct is n only. Then n indirect what we got beta, n indirect is equal to, we got it as n indirect is v plus vc by v minus vc. Now from that information what we are, our conclusions we got, the final conclusions are n direct is n, and what about n indirect, and indirect is n into v plus vc by v minus vc. So what are number of beats heard per second? Number of beats heard per second is n indirect minus n direct. So from that, yeah, what we can write, indirect n into v plus vc by v minus vc minus n. So delta n is equal to n into v plus vc by v minus vc. If I just take the common terms and everything, we'll get here 2n vc by v minus vc. This is nothing but delta n is beat frequency, number of beats per second difference. So like that, I can conclude the wall concepts. So today's class, I discussed three situations of wall classes, wall concepts here. The first one is about the car. This is the first situation I discussed today. This one is, what is this one? Observer is between source and wall. Source is moving towards observer. This is the first situation. Next situation I discussed, that is observer is, where is observer? Here observer is behind the source. Source is moving towards the wall as usual. Observer is backside of the source, not in between source and wall, beside or backside of the source observer location. This is the second situation. Third situation, what is the third situation I discussed in today's class? That is both source and observer, both are same. That means the person is sitting inside the car itself. So he is only observer, he is making sound. So your direct sound is n, direct, because he is already inside the car. With car speed only the person also travels, because he is inside the car. From that we can conclude that both are moving in the same direction with same speed, same speed. So we don't have difference between direct and indirect situations. So n direct is equal to n. So coming, this is indirect is N. Whatever emitting frequency, direct listening frequency also same, but indirect is different. How it is different and what are the final conclusions we made in this situation? Let us check it out once. Direct is N, indirect is N into V plus Vc by V minus Vc. So finally, you have to remember all these concepts, beta. So very important for objective point of view, neat examination point of view. These are very important concepts. These are all concepts which I told I will explain today. So in our next class, we'll discuss the further concepts and some other applications of this Doppler effect and other topics of waves also I'm going to continue in my next session. Thank you everyone.